Good morning and welcome to a Thursday, January 9th edition to SimWorld today. Plenty of basketball in the offing. Last night we had the game of the week, which turned out to be an absolute thriller in SimWorld U, and the game of the SWBA season thus far with Oklahoma and Kansas City. What are you talking about? Oklahoma City
Cleveland.
and Cleveland. That's JK. He's joining us this morning. Good morning, JK. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well, Marsh. There was definitely a lot of great basketball last night. Though I will admit I'm a little disappointed to not talk Jaguars head coaching with you, I will say.
Nobody wants to talk Jaguars head coaching with anybody, not even the head coaching or the general manager, because it's terrible. Let's jump into the basketball realm of things, though. So Oklahoma City goes on the road to Cleveland. They fall 129-122 in a game that was back and forth for the entirety of it until the fourth quarter, where Cleveland's defense really stifled the Oklahoma City attack. So, Jake, any takeaways from last night that stood out to you?
What really stands out to me about this is the fact that both of these teams looked uber competitive. It was great basketball for all 48 minutes, and the fact that there were 30 lead changes is very indicative of that. And honestly, my biggest takeaway is that I would love to see this if this was an SWBA finals matchup, because I find these teams the two most fun to watch in the league. I've really been enjoying Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, and I'm really liking what Kenny Atkinson has done on the interior for the Cavs with Jared Allen and Evan Mobley. Both of them, he's really managed to unleash both of them, and Evan Mobley's been playing his best and really dominated OKC without Chet Holmgren in the lineup.
What I really liked last night was the way Cleveland was able to consistently use the zone. That's something that you see dropped in SWBA games, but you don't see it used in the closing moments like it was last night. And it was in full effect, and it did a really effective job of taking Oklahoma City out of the sets that they're used to. The problem that Oklahoma City has, and I think last night again was an indicator of that, was the number 2 guy. Right, Jalen Williams had some big moments, but time and time again, it was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, trying to find his way through a zone defense, and that is really when the game switched. At about the 4-minute mark, when Cleveland went to that zone full force, there wasn't a great counterpoint, and they were getting some buckets inside, but it was a lot of mid-range jumpers. It was a lot of floaters. The Oklahoma City offense just wasn't as free-flowing as it was earlier in the game, and it allowed Cleveland to play a 3-guard lineup with Ty Jerome, Darius Garland, and Donovan Mitchell that allowed them to be very playmaker based on the other side. So I'm not going to walk away from that game, JK, and say that, okay, well, Cleveland's better than Oklahoma City if they ever meet, and I'm 100% confident in that. I would walk away from it a little bit of confirmation from some of the other items. Oklahoma City's number 2 still needs to be a little bit better number 2. I'm still of the opinion they try to go out and be a little bit more aggressive in finding it, but I'm not going to fault them if they decide that Jalen Williams just needs to come into his own. I think that's the right decision. And Cleveland, you've got guys that can score the ball, and you've got a really good defense with that backline that you mentioned, Jared Allen and Evan Mobley, that's going to make them a very, very dangerous team come the postseason, JK.
I would absolutely agree with that, and it's nice seeing, I would say young talent. Thunder team is one of the youngest in basketball, so seeing a guy like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander take the league by storm is really has been a lot of fun, but we'll get into my thoughts on him more later in the show.
Oh, we will. We're going to get him. I don't see more SGA talk later on in the show, but okay. Actually, I think I might know what we're talking about. Anyway, let's go to the other game of the night, which was Maryland and and it was a collapse by Maryland, accurate that sends this thing for a win for the Wildcats. JK, your takeaways from SimWorld U's Game of the Week?
Honestly, biggest takeaway from this game, Justin Bell not getting enough love. I know on yesterday's show, you and Rick were talking about those freshmen that could make the SWBA leap very seamlessly. I think Justin Bell's right up there. Had 7 of the final 11 points for Villanova and was responsible for 9 of them. He's a guy that's proved consistent throughout his SimWorld prep career. It's now translating to Villanova, and as good as Cooper Kingy Cross is, Villanova has more help for Justin Bell, and that's my concern with Maryland, is that it's always the CKC show, and there's nobody else I trust on that team. But for Villanova, they play a very balanced brand of basketball. They have a lot of Aaron Lovejoy. They have a lot of Mugen Williams. They have a lot of guys I trust, and they're bringing in Losi Thomas. They're bringing in Wade Rose, and they're doing well on the recruiting trails. The last couple of weeks are really, in my opinion, were saving Kyle Neptune's job, because I thought he was on the hot seat.
Well, I don't know if number 14th ranked head coach is going to be on the hot seat. I also don't know that, this is no disrespect to the new guys coming in, but I also don't know that the recruiting class for next season is really going to change my opinion of a team this year. I would push back on saying that Maryland is just CKC. They've got other guys that can create. I mean, he has a big night last night, but it's still a game or a night where they get to 80 points as a team. The only reason they're not walking away as a winner last night is because they couldn't get a rebound. And I agree with you that I think inside Villanova's front court, particularly with Aaron Lovejoy, is dynamic, and it is tough to stop. And I think that's why Villanova is going to have a high ceiling. That's why they've been hot as of late. My only takeaway last night was Maryland's got to find ways to close. I mean, that was a game that you led for double figures for much of the second half. You come one rebound away. You've got the Keith Singleton splitting the free throws late in that basketball game. All of that decided this night well, I'm not talking about Villanova. I'm talking about Maryland and their collapse. Justin Bell, though, obviously takes full advantage of that. But if you're Maryland, the takeaway is you've got to find a way to close, because last night you didn't do that. And Justin Bell is far too good of a talent. And if the SWBA scout that texted me that said that Cooper Kingy Cross is his number one pick, you're coming out next season, Justin Bell, in the same class as Cooper Flagg. I know that Cooper Flagg's the number one guy. I get it, but I think we should eventually be having a conversation of how far up does Justin Bell go next season, because I think he's a type of difference-maker talent. And I've said that. I've said that since he was in high school. I think I'm not the only one that said that by any means, but Justin Bell is an absolute baller. Justin Bell and Kai Killens, in my opinion, are the face of the next era of basketball in the SWBA. It's just a matter of time before they get up there. Speaking of the SWBA and time they get up there, certainly plenty of conversation as of late has been around the ratings. Now, I don't want to spoil my take, so I'm curious, JK, you hinted at SGA. So is there a challenge with the ratings, and how would you go about fixing things, or is there even need fixing? We're just kind of overreacting.
Honestly, I think that the biggest problem with the SWBA is the lack of defense. 10 years ago, 2014, 2015, 20 guys averaged 20 or more points per game. Right now, 47 guys average 20 or more points per game. I think a lot of it is about the product itself, where people are less invested in a product that is very predicated on defense when a lot of us grew up on it. Other people had Michael Jordan. I had Kobe Bryant. I had LeBron James. I think that's part of it. But a lot of it might be a bit of a marketing struggle, because this is where SGA comes into the fold for me, because where are the highly marketed American superstars? LeBron, about to retire. Kevin Durant, past his prime. Steph Curry, getting older. It's the faces of the league right now are guys that are not even American or not particularly marketable. It's
what's wrong
Giannis,
with the guy not being American?
Jokic,
I don't get this.
Shea,
what's wrong with that?
Wemby.
What's wrong with the guy not being American?
I mean, because you obviously want high level American stars. It helps them get the American audience invested.
Does it?
Yes.
Does it make an American? But no other sport runs into that issue. Soccer is the most popular sport in the world, and you do not see anybody freaking out about players being from all other countries. I understand the sentiment, but to me, this whole American star audience is complete bogus. It's not about an American star, it's about personality. It's that we've got way too many people that are just so bland. I mean, Jason Tatum gave everything single 2K stock button answer he could in his post-game moment to try to create something of value for himself when they won the championship last summer. You've got the only marketable personality, there's two of them. It's Anthony Edwards and it's John Morant, and each of them have had, let's call them speckled pasts at best in terms of their public backlash to a couple of things that they've done. One certainly more atrocious than the other, but both not very good. So I don't buy into this American, because that is, dare I say, the borderline racist take. And I'm not calling you racist, Jake. I'm saying in general. It's like, well, we can't like something because it's not our own thing. Like that's idiotic to me. That is absolutely idiotic. To your point about the product, I agree. I agree that not that there's not enough defense and that the defense saves it, because before you were a speckle or a twinkle in your parents' eyes, defense is what caused the league to go to ratings hell, and they had to rally back by opening up the floor a little bit. I don't think it's the defensive effort, it's that as a defender, the calls are so skewed in the offensive direction. But all of that is actually not why I don't think the NBA, or why I think the NBA is having trouble. I've said this plenty of times. The product is too relevant. It's too often. The reason that the SWFL is so popular is because each game matters, because it's appointment television, because when we are stepping in to a Sunday morning, you know exactly what's at stake. You've got a limited number of games, and you're going to be delivering each one to have meaning when they step on the field. It's not the case in basketball. It's not the case in hockey. It's not the case in baseball. And I get it. You don't have to watch every single game. But that's also the problem. In my opinion, it's 2 games per week. You are playing a limited number of games, but it makes each game matter. You are not stuffing a schedule with a ton of games that are just going to get lost. Last night, I don't even know how many games were played in the SWBA last night. Let's do a quick check and figure out how many games were played last night.
I think I only followed one of them, in all honesty, just to kind of run with your point there. And I kind of want to circle back, because I know that I'm not complaining about there being a lack of
played. Cavs Thunder's the only one we care about.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. But talking more, I don't think it's the fact that there's no American stars. It's that there's no interesting personalities, like you said.
But you didn't say that, JK. I get that you're now saying that, but you didn't say that originally. You said
that's kind of what I was trying to say.
But you didn't.
That is what I was.
Okay.
Yeah. But however, it came up on the screen. Load management ruining the league. The season needs to be shorter. If players are if players aren't even going to dignify the fans with the opportunity to play, why are fans going to watch? I don't why go to a game and watch the Bucks backup take on the Cavs
played. Last season, all of the stars played. They played 70 plus games. LeBron, AD, Steph, KD, Luka, Tatum, all the best guys played 70 plus games. The guys that didn't play 70 plus games.
How you could not name Joel Embiid?
Well, okay, that's. Sorry, one dude got hurt. The most injury-plagued dude in the entire league, outside of Kawhi Leonard, who did play 70-plus games, didn't play. I'm not shooting 100% over here on guys playing 70-plus games, JK. The point that I'm making is that, to this specific thing, load management last season was BS, okay? It's an easy talking point, but it's not load management. It's the fact that there's too many non-relevant games. So I'm wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong in that. It's just that I don't believe that specifically that, because last season showed guys will play games, and this season showed guys are playing games. Like who's missing games? Look, Steph Curry's dealing with knee tendonitis. Joel Embiid is an idiot, and that's rude. Joel Embiid is doing a lot of non-athletic things early on in the season, but he was also dealing with a knee injury. Kawhi Leonard, injury. LeBron James is really the only guy that stepped away from the league from games and has not been injured specifically. He had to take a week away, and guess what? He's looked better when he came back, because when you're doing a limited number of games, it's more valuable for the viewer. It's also more valuable for the player, because
that's why the SWFL is always king. Games are one day a week. It's so much more convenient to watch.
What did I say 2.5 minutes ago?
Yes, it's more convenient to watch a sport that has games like 1 or 2 days a week. And
well, there's plenty of opportunity, and we've seen that with the value of even going down to SimWorld level. You're playing once a week. You're getting big games. You're getting guys we're seeing great performances. Now, statistically, I don't know if you wrote it or who wrote it, but somebody talked about how Kai Killens is playing. His numbers are down this season. His numbers are down because they're not playing this boatload of games that allows you to just kind of jack up the numbers, but I think the product on the court is better. All right, moving on because we got to wrap up our show. We had plenty of activity last night outside of our game of the week, so let's roll the tape and let's get to our SimWorld U wrap up. Let's start off with a little VCU activity as the Rams battling at home against Rutgers. They pick up a 64-63 win. Rutgers does. Penn State. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the wrong days, my friends. Look at that. It feels like a Monday over here. Get your days right, Marsh. All right. Penn State and Colorado State. Penn State gets the win 84-79. Nick Beal leads the way 19 points. Georgetown, they're coming off that disappointing defeat, as was SMU. SMU, though, the one that rallies back with a road win 63-50. Big night from Keyshawn Trump, 15-14 from McKellen Duval. Time to raise the alarm potentially around Georgetown. 2 straight losses back-to-back nights they played tonight. Xavier, they go up against Jackson State at home, and it's Jackson State walking out with a 65-63 win. Richard Alpine leads it with 15-10. 14 from D. Woodley, a 7 of 17 night. Harvard in action last night. They're at home against Wisconsin, and Wisconsin dominates. 21 points from Drake Harvell for the Badgers in an 86-58 win. Richmond on the road here, or at home rather, against Minnesota. Minnesota gets the win. 17 points from Donald Mafetti to lead the Golden Gophers, a team that might be primed for a little top 25 respect. How about Creighton and Virginia? Creighton with a win 83-75 at home. Ethan Letterman 21 points, but team investigating seen texting on the sidelines during this game. Ethan Letterman does. Time will tell what results from that one. Full investigation, though, currently underway around the freshman star for the Blue Jays. Houston and Michigan. Michigan on the road gets an 81-72 win. Richard Pizarski leading the way with 24 points. Double-double from Lorenzo Phenom and 14 for the Wolverines. Big showings from Richard Pizarski ever since the Lorenzo Phenom suspension. Boise State gets the win at home against Purdue. Don't look now. 4 wins for the Broncos. 76-66. Keyshawn Western, 18 points to lead the way for the Broncos. 21 from Pierre Dupont for a struggling Boilermakers squad. UNLV hosting number 7 Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech's big man Travion Novick gets rolling 17-10. Add 14 to the ledger for Newly Cox in an 85-64 win. Virginia Tech, number 7 in the country, now 13-2. All right, that's our show. We're coming back tomorrow. We've got plenty of SimWorld action going on tonight on a Thursday night. It starts with a 6:30 tip on ESPN. Davidson and Georgetown. Davidson has lost 2 games in a row. Georgetown has lost 2 games in a row. 2 teams who were soaring up the top 25 rankings now seem to be soaring the opposite direction. Somebody is losing a 3rd straight game on ESPN. Who, we do not know. And then 8 p.m., we got San Diego State and Jackson State. JK, you'll be in Jackson State for that one. We look forward to hearing your voice on that call, and we look forward to watching both of those games on ESPN. JK, great to see you this morning. We will talk to you again on the call later tonight. We will talk to you all tomorrow morning right here on another episode of SimWorld Today on Friday. Appreciate you tuning in here on SimWorld TV, the only place you can see the game, be the game.